Alright, welcome back. Today we're going to do something very loose and easy, a very simple way to observe the flow of markets. We're going to be talking gap on the left. Like I said, it's going to be a very loose, relaxed way to see the flow of markets both up and down. So don't go getting all technical, looking for rules, looking for where's the trade, and where's the stop, and where's this. What I'm going to do is just first describe it, and then I want you to make observations, and then from these observations I want you to create some ways to trade it, or many ways actually. So first I'll lay it out, and then I'll talk about some of the foundations we need to know, and then we'll go look at a few. So if we're looking at this chart, it's a target weekly, and just look nice and simple, okay? Forget about tensing up about the trade. What is the biggest, ugliest thing on the board? The thing that sticks out, the most significant thing? It's the gap, right? See, it's a gap. And you can go back and look at some of my gap blogs for a little bit more information. I'll lay some foundations out. And so, gaps are a beautiful thing. Now, markets, actually everything moves in contraction, expansion, contraction, expand, continue, expand, reverse, contraction, expansion, contraction. So gaps are a beautiful thing because you can be sitting here in your market, whether it's a tick chart, futures chart, stock, and get all tensed, watching this thing for hours or weeks or days or whatever, not knowing what to do. But a gap tells you, hey, something just happened. Something significant. Somebody's got to get off the pot. When a gap happens, it's a supply-demand imbalance. And boom, immediately, people are being pushed out of positions. If you're short, people are being pushed into positions. The market is now in play. So just waiting for this simple signal is a beautiful thing. It keeps you out of all kinds of trouble. You don't have to force and make up trades all over the place. So here's the easy part. Then we'll talk about a few. This is going to be very basic. All right. This is a whole framework that we teach in our live sessions, but this is going to be basic. When you see this gap on the left like this, just eyeball it somewhere around the middle. Anywhere around the middle. And look and see how price acts with that point. And make observations. Okay? That's it. Simple as that. Okay, so in this case, this is what price did. Doesn't have to hold, doesn't have to not hold. Now, there are some reasons behind this. So let's just understand a little bit. First of all, when we're talking gaps, a gap is like boom, right? It's like a swing that hasn't really confirmed one way or the other yet. So imagine, price spurts up. It's like this swing that's deciding. It just hasn't confirmed. So a swing, right, needs to make a high or a low. And in that respect, it's kind of like what we'll do with median lines. You ever notice your median line looks like this? But imagine that it's horizontal. Like that. So what we'll do is we'll be looking. We're not getting technical. I'm just giving some reasonings why 50%, and then at the bottom of the gap. All right. Now the other thing you'll notice about these gaps, if you've watched, what you'll see is the market blast off, and you'll feel bad you didn't predict it and all that. We're not here to predict, but you'll see the market take off like this, and then it will at some point start to slow down, start to change slope, change angle. It might go sideways, or it might be at a diagonal, but you'll see it go up as the buyers get less aggressive with it, or running out of buyers, and so you'll see this little place where price starts to quit going up and starts to go sideways, making a little contraction. It can be sloped or it can be horizontal. So if you'll notice, all of this is actually contraction, and that's expansion. All right, so you got it. We're going to look for the biggest one. Right, biggest one. Just eyeball the middle and make some observations. There's one more step to this if you want to do it, and that has to do with our swings. You can you can go look at the prior videos I have of mapping any market, any time frame, so you can map this. Alright, so one of the things that happens in here is once it starts to slow down, it builds a shelf, and these are like pushing little buyers, and we'll call this a shelf or a multi-pivot line. Okay, and sometimes this shelf or multi-pivot line holds, and price just continues on its merry way to make another expansion. And sometimes these little buyers that are hanging on forever, and if you've been trading, you've been caught in this, they get stopped. Something to break, something to fall into. And so basically, I just want you to eyeball the middle. You can eyeball the middle in that part, but just eyeball the middle. But that's what happens, right? You can see the buyers, they hang on, and then they get pow. They get washed. Okay. So now let's take this to another level and I'm going to try to describe this to you. Maybe we'll use another chart. Here, we'll use a recent pound. So one of the things, if you've been trading for a while, that you might notice that when swing makes a new low, it doesn't always just continue going to zero, right? It comes over here, it gets a little squishy underneath, and then pow, just like that, and makes a new low. Again, might get a little squishy. It might be horizontal, it might be sloped, and then these guys, these are the shelves. This is the shelf we were looking at in that target. And then pow. Okay, so what we'll be doing now, I'm just doing this in swings. Just eyeball about 50% and notice if price reacts off of it somewhere. Right? Don't try to be perfect. Just eyeball. We're going to call this whole move gap, and then notice if price. And so we're going to follow price this way. Price is going to come down in its swing. It gets a little squishy. Pow. Okay. Just 50%. We can even just say 50% of the impulse leg. And we're going to follow this when it changes too. And so if it changes, guess where it's liable to change? Right into this neighborhood. So if price then reacts off of this and holds and changes its mind and goes pow, now it's going to make a shelf this way. Now we're going to follow it up. So we'll have this, we'll just eyeball 50% and watch. And it doesn't have to fall into the gap, it can keep going. Okay, and the same thing, make a swing, come up here, get squishy, pow. So if you'll notice, all we're really doing is swings. We're just looking at it in another way. Don't forget, let's go back to simple. Just eyeball. So let's take this recent pounds from yesterday, and you'll see what I mean. See, here, this is all difficult trading. Pow. So just look, you see we have contraction, expansion, and as soon as price starts to do this, it's contraction again. See, it's starting to curl. And so this kind of thing becomes what we're going to call the shelf, something to break, right? Something to get stopped. So when you see this, just eyeball 50%. Don't worry if it's perfect. Don't worry if it holds, doesn't hold. I want you to just make observations. There's a lot to learn from this. And then pow. And then if it makes another one, just see, eyeball the space, the gap, and observe. And if it does nothing, don't worry about it. Wait, and then you can follow it the other way as well. And if you get one, again, just we're gonna take this out live. Follow it. 50%, pop. There, you see we have a nice, see, contract, expand. So here we'll just eyeball the middle. And it goes a little higher, and new low, right? What happens afterwards? So all we're going to do is we're going to use this little measure right now to decide which way the market's going. If gap on the left are holding and making new lows, it's going down until it's not. So you see, this is a beautiful example. Contraction, expansion, little slope contraction, pop. And all you have to do is eyeball, right? Just eyeball this gap space in here. You get another one, do the same thing. You should be able to eyeball this and just something like that. Oh, guess what? That's current. So you see contraction, expansion. Now you see the shelf being built. These guys are really trying to push on this thing. And if this thing pops into this gap on the left and rolls, then we follow it again. If it pops into this gap on the left and say falls back on this shelf and turns, it's going to contract on the sellers and pop, and then we'll follow it up. Okay, piece of cake, right? Let's take a look. I drew some things out for you just for an understanding. Here we're on a recent CAD. Now when it comes to gaps, right, we need to take a few things into consideration. A gap can be an actual gap. It can be a 1 bar gap. It can be several bars, and it can be little swings. Either way, price moves in contraction, expansion, contraction, and then it can continue or reverse. Just like here, contraction. Like you can see, even though this is many bars, right? It's many bars. There's a big space here. It's empirically a gap, and then it contracts, and price falls back into the middle of it. So it's a beautiful visual way to see markets, which way they're going and when they turn. Just look here, right? Just follow this. This, you can just tune your eyeball and see this, and go like this. And if you want, find your swing and do the swing also. Right? We can say, all right, this swing's about yay big, this swing's about yay big. And you can see this thing setting up, right? There's the shelf. It'll set up a shelf. It'll set up a shelf underneath here. So this is zoom, what got zoomed. And then you don't worry about anything else. I'm not worried about targets. I'm not worried about trades. I'm worried about just observing it. See, it's easy to see. When you see it, just eyeball it. And when it switches, right, then you switch. Okay, now we'll do this one. This one's going down. and then we start over again. So a few considerations in this, and that will be considerations are going to be where in the swing does this gap on the left happen. So now, once you get this simple, okay, I can eyeball a gap. Where in the swing does it happen? Does it take out sellers or buyers? And relative, meaning, major. What's the biggest one? And so you'll see they come in different sizes. So you'll see that there's different sized gaps. You'll see there's different sizes. This is a gap. This is a gap too. They're different sizes. So what you're going to do is look for the biggest, baddest, ugliest one. That'll be your major. And just like swings, they're relative. See, it's about the same size. Okay, so we'll just have a look at a few more things. Just so you get the idea. We got some things live cooking. Just watch. Gap. Just eyeball it. Boom. Contraction. Pop into the gap on the left. Whew, big gap. Much bigger. Just eyeball this thing in the middle. Okay? This is play weekly. Contraction. And we'll follow that. There's currently one that I'm watching in the ES. This is an ES 7-minute live. And so the one I've been watching from this morning is just eyeball, right? You can see all gap. Just eyeball it somewhere. Just eyeball it. And then please understand the dynamics. Often after a swing, people get all crazy. Oh my God, it's going to zero. Price gets squishy and swings up. Okay? Pop into the gap on the left. So you'll notice, right, the one here, the selling one is controlling. We get one here that's a buying one, but it's running into the selling one. Now, generally on these, right, if it is going to turn, it will turn down here. All right, so you should get the idea. Don't force it. Look for a big gap. Learn to see gaps in different ways. Learn to see when you have this big, and just let your eye be drawn to that. All right, price is here. Everybody's going. And just think about, what's 50%. All right, boom, and then make observations, and then later on you can play with swings. And it doesn't matter. So this is corn. I mean, we can look at anything here. I'm going to do a live natural gas, since I'm following natural gas in the same way. It's just a very simple way to follow market. Where's my nat gas? Okay. See, it sticks out. Something happened. Boom. Sticks out. Something happened. Boom. We don't know this. Still waiting to see if it wants to turn. Sometimes it turns a little lower. Sometimes it just switches. On the downside, look, we have that. So just keep it loose. All right. Keep it loose. Make observations as you go. I mean, look, I can flash up a chart here, just an oil 20-minute. I'm not even looking at anything. Just look and let your eye be drawn to that. That's all. Just let your eye be drawn to that. and without telling you what the trade is, make observations. But I'm going to tell you basically, you have a trade to sell this here, you have a trade to buy this here, or if it switches, pop, you go the other way. All right, the end.